That sounds like music theory. This is episode 2 of a series, so if you're absolutely new to music theory, please check out this video first. It's about the most essential thing you should know when you're starting out to learning music theory. So today we're talking about the major scale, and if there's one important scale, it's the major scale. Everything we learn in music theory is connected to that scale, and it's one of the most, if not the most used scale in Western music. If we talk about intervals, let's say a perfect fifth, it's the fifth note from the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we talk about chords, let's say a D sus4, the 4 is the fourth note from the major scale. So if you're ready to take the next step into music theory, this is really the only way to go. The major scale is built with 7 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the 8th note is the same as the first, but then 1 octave higher. And there's just one way the major scale is built or constructed, and it's always the same way. So it's pretty easy. So if we take any starting point, and it really doesn't matter where we start, let's say we start over here, we need to have the following steps. Whole, which is 2 frets. Again whole, 2 frets. Half, which is 1 fret. Whole, 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 half. Now I know I play the major scale of, in this example, E major. So if we start on an E, we play an E major scale. If we start on a B, we play a B major scale, and so forth. But how do we know what notes are in the scale? Well, that's pretty easy too. If you see in the first lesson, this follows that one real nice. So let's take a look at the C major scale. So here's a schematic diagram of the major scale. Let's start with C being the easiest to create, and you will understand later why that is. So first we need to fill in the steps, and we said earlier it's whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And now we take a look at the functions. A function basically is the relation of that note towards the key center. It seems to be complicated, but it's very easy. It's just the first note of the scale has the function 1. The second note of the scale has the function 2. The third note of the scale has the function 3, and so forth. And now let's take a look at the notes. So the first note is a C, and the first step needs to be a whole step. So a whole step up from C is D. So 2 frets higher from C is a D. And then from D, a whole step up again is the E. Because between the D and the E lies one note, the D sharp, but that's not a part of the C major scale. So from E, we need to move a half step up, resulting into an F. So now we're at F, and we need to move one whole step up again to G. To G, one whole step up is A. And from A, a whole step up is B. And from B, we need to move a half step up, landing on C, because the step from B to C is a half note. Alright, the next scale we want to have a look at is the G major scale. This one is a little different from the C major, and we'll find out why in just a minute. So we can leave everything in place. The steps are the same and the functions are the same, because it's a major scale. The steps make the major scale, the functions make the major scale. So let's fill in the G major scale. So we start on the note G. If we move one whole step up, we go to A. And then again, one whole step up, we go to B. But now we need to move a half step up. So from B, a half step up, it's C. And then from 4 to 5, we find a whole step again. So D. A whole step up to 6 is E. So from E, a whole step up is 2 frets. E, a half step would be F. And a half step again, that is an F sharp. So the 7th note from the G major scale is an F sharp. So we have G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and then a half step up to the 8th or the 1st is G. And that is the way you construct each major scale over and over again. So now let's take a look at the F major scale, because this is something different again. We start on F, whole step up to G, whole step up to A. And now there is a half step. So if you remember the video from before, from A, a half step up does not lead to B, because there is a note between the A and the B. And that note can have two names. We want and need to have each note of the alphabet, or of the musical alphabet. So we need an A, a B, a C, D, E, F, and a G. The order is, of course, depending on where you start, but we need to have each note. They can have accidental, so they can be sharpened or flattened, but we need to have one of each. So we can have a double, and we can't miss one. If we start from F on the F major scale, we have F, G, A. So the next note needs to be a B note of some kinds. So we don't call the fourth note of the F major scale a sharpened A or a raised A, so an A sharp, but we call it a B flat, a lowered B, because we need the B to follow the A. So if we continue F, G, A, B flat, and then from 4 to 5 there is a whole step up again. So B flat, a half step up would be B. So a whole step up is C. Going to the 6th is D. Going to the 7th, a whole step up again is E. And then a half step up resulting into F. And now we made the F major scale. Wonderful. So let us take a look at one more example. We're gonna make the major scale from E. This one may seem a little more complicated, but it's just the same. So we start on the E, the first note, and now we need to move up. A whole step is leading to F sharp, because from E to F is a half step, a semitone, but we need to have a whole step. So E, F sharp. From F sharp, a whole step up from 2 to 3 in the key of E major, we find ourselves being on the G sharp 4th fret on the E string. So E, F sharp, G sharp. From 3 to 4 there is a half step. So G sharp goes to A. A whole step up again to B. A whole step up again from B is C sharp. So this may be a bit too fast, but make sure to make this scale yourself. C sharp, and then to 7th is D sharp, and then a half step up again to the 1st or the 8th is E again. Lovely, and that is how we make a major scale, and that's the way it's constructed. So one more thing about the functions. If we talk about the third, for example, we always refer to it as the third of the major scale. That's why these functions are very important as well, because they can stand for intervals too. So let's say the 5th. The perfect 5th is the 5 of the major key. Let's say the 6. That's the 6 of a major key. Very interesting stuff. So you can basically make these scales without a guitar in your hand, but I always advise you do it with a guitar in your hand. And you can make these scales easily two ways, horizontally or vertically. So at first, horizontally will be the easiest because you can see the steps very clearly. Let's take E, for example, the high E string. You can see the steps: whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And if you want to play vertically, we need to play over multiple strings, and this can cloud a little bit where you see the whole and the half steps. So let's say we want to play an A major scale. Now we're playing the same steps: whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. But they are a little bit less visible that way. It's the same. So that's why learning scale patterns can be very easy as well, so that you don't have to think about the steps when you play the pattern. So that's all for now about the major scale. Let that sink in. Make scales yourself. You can start on any note making a major scale. Let's start, for example, on D or on A or on B flat or on E flat. So the next video will be about triads, major and minor chords. On my Patreon page you will find a written transcript of everything I said, as well as some examples of the scales I made. And make sure to stick around for the next video. And if you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye, my friends.